Hello everybody, and today I want to talk to you about some old-time remedies. Now, I'm not one that really believes a whole lot in old-time remedies, but there are a few of them that I know do work because I've actually done them. And some of them I learned from my grandmother, and some of them I learned from other people. Now, I grew up and had a child, got married, had a child, and of course he decided to walk out one day, and here I was, a young woman with a baby, and he never paid any child support. And so I'm sure single mothers out there know exactly what I'm talking about and how hard it is. And back then there was, no such thing as, Obamacare or anything like that. You either paid for the doctor or they just didn't see you. And so I was more open to try things because I couldn't afford the doctor every time. And so I'm going to talk to you today about some things I learned from my grandmother and some things I learned from other people that actually work. So if things got really, really bad, this information might really be able to help you in a really, really bad situation. Now, I know this says lamp oil on it right here, but they sell it in kerosene. Now, it's important that, and I have a bottle, I just can't find it. I know I have it in a storage area, and I just did not want to dig through everything to find it. And I found this one because I do keep lamp oil on hand, but I also have a bottle of kerosene, and it must be kerosene to do this. Okay, so, but I brought it out to kind of show. And kerosene works on head lice. It kills head lice. Now, I seen my grandmother doing this as a young girl to some of the grandkids, and thank God I never had a problem with head lice, but, sometimes it happens, and kids come home from schools, and they got head lice. Well, my grandmother would take the grandkids, and she would take the kerosene, and she would put it on cotton balls, and she would rub it into the strands of hairs on girls. If they had long hair, she'd rub each section really good with kerosene, and the boys, she would just rub it into their hair and their scalp, and real good she did this. And then she would take and wrap their heads with a towel for about 5 minutes. And then she would comb their hair out, clean their hair, and comb it, and it would kill the lice. Now, sometimes she had to go for a second treatment if it got reinfested, if she accidentally missed one or something. But I know with the second treatment, nobody had to come back. And so I know kerosene works for killing head lice. I had a friend that had some grandkids that had some head lice, and she didn't know what to do because her daughter couldn't afford, and it was 4 kids. I think it was 4, and she couldn't afford to buy the medication at the store. And she said, what on earth can I do? And I said, kerosene. Well, she didn't have any kerosene on hand, but I did, and she come and got some, and she used it on her grandkids. And she was amazed. She said it really, really worked. And kerosene is not that expensive compared to the medication, especially if you have 3 or 4 kids, because one box, I think, only does 1 person. But anyhow, it solved the problem. So I would advise to keep some kerosene on hand because it does work for head lice, and it could come in handy if things got really, really bad. Bleach. I know there's tons of things that people talk about using bleach out there for purifying water and all kinds of different things. But when my son was very young, he got a round circle looking thing on his ear. And I took him into the doctor, didn't have the money to pay, and they wouldn't see him. And he complained about it bothering him a lot. But I had no clue what it was. And I knew there was a nurse in the town where I lived at. So I grabbed my son, took him to see her. Because I, single mother, no money for a doctor, didn't know what it was, didn't know what to do. I took him even to the emergency room at the hospital, and they turned me away there too. And back then, they did that a lot. Okay, if you didn't have the money to pay, good luck. And so I went to go see this nurse. And she took one look at my son's ear and she said, "It's ringworm." Well, I didn't even know what ringworm was. And she asked me if I had cats. And I said, "No, I don't have any." And she says, "Well, it usually actually comes from kids playing with cats." And I said, "No." And she goes, "Well, it comes from dirt also." And yes, he did play outside a lot. And she said, "But also there could be some cats in the neighborhood or something, and they've been digging and pooping, and maybe he got it that way." And I said, "Well, what do I do?" She goes, "Oh, nothing, simple." She says, "Take a cotton ball and pour some bleach on that cotton ball." And she said, "And just dab his ear." She said, "Don't, overdo it and have it running everywhere. And don't get it down into his eardrum." She said, "Just dab his ear with bleach." She said, "Now he's going to cry and he's going to say it burns. But," she says, "it will kill the ringworm." And I said, "I'll try anything." She says, "You need to get rid of it because it can spread." And I had caught it fairly early. She told me, "You caught this right away." And I said, "Yeah, but the doctors wouldn't see him, wouldn't tell me anything, and wouldn't help me." And she says, "Well, that's what it is." And she goes, "And it can be killed with bleach." Well, she was a nurse. I trusted her, So I took my son home, got some bleach, put a little bit on the cotton ball, and dabbed it on his ear where the ringworm was. And she was right. He cried, screamed it burned, but in a couple of days that ringworm was gone. I only had to do it once. And in a couple of days, I took a look at his ear, and I kept watching it, getting smaller and smaller, and it was like in 2 days, his ear was completely cleared up. He had no more problems, and he had no more outbreak with ringworm. So I know that works. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not, and I'm not trying to pretend I am. But like I said, I know things that work if I've tried them, and that's usually the advice I give to people. Only things that I've actually tried and I know that actually work. Now, it worked. The bleach did. Now, if you got money, I would tell you definitely go see a doctor. But if you're in a really bad situation and things were really desperate and bad, you saw it. That does kill it. And that nurse was right. Now, one thing I'm going to show you here, lime. My grandmother always used to say, and I'm sure you people have heard this for colds or flu, "Oh, drink a little bit of lemon juice and a little bit of honey, and it helps the cold." Lemon juice, and I buy limes, which are less acidic than lemons. Lemons are more acidic than limes, but limes are cheaper, and so I buy limes. Limes, if you squeeze this into a cup of hot water and some honey, it helps with kidney, urinary tract infections, because bacteria cannot live good in acidic areas. So I'm not saying it's a cure, maybe more of a prevention, but it helps. It does. Women are very prone to kidney infections, and most of us will say, "Well, they tell us to take garlic." Well, it takes a long time to clear it up with just garlic for a lot of people. This combined with it does helps to prevent it, because bacteria does not grow well or survive well in acidic and high acidic areas. So a couple of cups a day is very helpful. Now, recently I bought this at Dollar Tree. I always try to keep some of this on hand, cuts, different things. But I had a situation with my Nutter Butter that he came in, and the next day, his eye was all red. He had been out in the chicken area, cleaning the chicken area, and he wears goggles and, a mask when he cleans the chicken area. But he got up the next day complaining that his eye itched and burned really bad. And it was all, red. And I kept telling him, "You got pink eye, you're going to have to go to the doctor." And he said, No, it's not pink eye. It's just dust that got into my eye when I was out there with the chickens and, All I need to do is just kind of wash it and clean it out, but it didn't work. And he kept complaining that he had this burning sensation and itching in his eye. And I know it was pink eye. I know it was. But he wouldn't go to the doctor. And so I got him some eye drops and told him, use this to rinse your eyes out instead of water. Because sometimes even our water has bacteria in it. And I told him the triple antibiotic, I told him, rub it around the edge of your eye, not in your eye, but around the edge of your eye. And I told him, make sure you don't get it on the inside. Just rub it around the outside. And he said, what will that do? And I said, just do it and let's see what happens. Well, he did. And he said, oh my gosh, immediately he got relief from the itching and burning in his eye. And I told him, keep doing that every day. A couple of times a day I told him, make sure you rub just a small amount all around the outside part, close to the eye, but not in it. And he did. And he did that for several days, and he had said to me that every time he put that triple antibiotic ointment around his eye, underneath in the bottom part, he didn't put it really over his eyelid, he did it mostly in the corner at the bottom because he said that's where it seemed to itch and burn the most. And he put eye drops in his eyes 3 times a day. Now I got him the Visine that gets the red out. That was the brand I bought. It was Visine that gets the red out. And he did the triple antibiotic. Now, I don't know. It worked. And it got rid of the pink eye. I've seen pink eye enough times, and of course he didn't want to believe that it was pink eye. He was like, no, well, all the symptoms were there. He had a pussy corner, pussy looking stuff in the corner of his eye. He had to wipe out. His eye was, bloody red looking. It was really, really super red. He had all the burning and itching, which is all the signs of pink eye. But like I said, it's amazing, okay? He couldn't get it cleared up until he did that. Now, I just kind of fell on that one. I, just said, well, I don't know, try the triple antibiotic ointment. Because I felt he had pink eye. And usually pink eye is gotten rid of with antibiotics. And I think what happened was rinsing his eye with the Visine and using the triple antibiotic, some of that went through the skin towards the eye, and I believe it killed it. It cleared up that pink eye. Now, like I said, I'm not a doctor. I know things that do work, and that is the only time I tell people anything is when I've tried it and it actually works. And it did. In 3 days and it was gone. So, all of these things worked for me personally. I tried them and they actually worked. And that's, my old time remedies. Some of them, like I said, the kerosene was my grandmother's. The bleach was an old time remedy from a nurse. That was, I don't know, probably 38 years ago I did that with my son in the ringworm. So, she was a nurse and she knew. She said this is a remedy that they used a long time ago. That's how they killed ringworm. They would dab it on their skin or wherever the ringworm was and it would kill it. So she knew an old-time remedy that she passed on to me. My grandmother knew the kerosene worked on lice because that's what they used. And I know, and lemon is good for you anyhow. It's just good. They say it's great for softening up kidney stones. So, I don't know. They claim it is. Like I said, I'm not a doctor, but they claim that lemon squeezed into some water with a little bit of honey helps kidney stones. So, helps soften them up and break them up. And I know that the triple antibiotic with that Visine worked. It cleared it up completely, and he has no more problems with it. So, maybe you'd like to share with us some of your old-time remedies or things that you know for a fact that work because you've tried it. There's a lot of them out there, and I'm sure I'll probably remember more later and update even more as I remember. Because, sometimes you forget things. I forgot the bleach that worked on my son's ringworm. I did. I remember the kerosene when somebody mentioned it to me that they had the grandchildren that had lice. But these were things that were done before, but sometimes we forget. But if you know of anything that your ancestors, your great-great-grandmothers, or grandmothers, or grandfathers used to cure things or heal things, let us know. Leave us a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'm sure there are other people that would like to hear too. Well, God bless you. Keep preparing. It's going to get bad out there, folks. It really, really is. It's coming. You know, if nothing else, prices are going to get so high we can't afford it. So, God bless you and have a blessed day.